Hi, my name is Deb Johnston and welcome to Women Reinventing Midlife TV, where we aim to inspire women over 50 to thrive in a meaningful life that you deeply desire and deserve. Here you're going to find real life stories from women over 50 to inspire you to reinvent any aspect of your life, together with tips and content around mindset, wellness, and style to guide you to build confidence and vitality in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And today I have a wonderfully inspirational woman joining me on Women Reinventing Midlife TV, because I'm joined by Leonard Olsen. Marie's a biracial lawyer, journalist, and author. She's the podcast host of Becoming Your Best Version and co-host of the Inside Out radio show. Maria has written for numerous publications and spoken at various large events, including TEDx. She's an author, and her latest book is called 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life. And this book has helped thousands reinvigorate their lives. Maria, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on Reinventing Midlife TV.
Thank you so much, Deb, for inviting me. I've been a fan of yours for some time, and I love the content that you put out to the world. Thank you.
I know that we've been connecting on and off for a while, haven't we? And I remember when you sent me your TEDx talk, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So I'm so glad that you connected with me to come on the show, because I know what an inspirational life you've led and how many different changes you've been through. So I know that the ladies watching are going to get so much from this conversation. I'd love it if you'd share with our audience a bit about your transitional story, because you had a lot happen, a lot go on through your transition, didn't you?
Indeed. At age 50, the universe conspired to bring three major life events to the forefront in my life. I got divorced, I got sober from alcoholism, I became an empty nester, and I was living alone for the first time in my life. And I had always had roommates or family members. And so I was 50 years old and feeling rudderless. Who was I without being a mom or a wife or a community activist? I had carved out a really nice life for myself. And then when my children started pushing me away, which they're supposed to do, they're supposed to become independent, I had given up a very lucrative career in the law. And I felt that I had put all my eggs in the motherhood basket, and I had lost myself when my children didn't need me in the way they had for the first 15 years of their lives. So I felt adrift, and I had to change almost everything about my life. I went back to practicing law after having taken a 15-year break.
Wow.
I took another state bar to prove to myself, really, that I didn't just have mommy mush brain for having been at home raising my children. And because I was a latchkey kid, which means my mother worked full time, my parents divorced when I was only 6 years old, and I wanted an at-home mom. For my whole childhood, I wanted my mother to be there. And so I vowed to myself at a very young age that if I could swing it financially, that I would be an at-home mom, and I would go to every single thing at my children's schools, which I did. And I approached motherhood like I approached preparing for a trial. I researched it. I didn't feel that I had a good role model in my mother, who was pretty absent in my childhood. And so I read every book I could get my hands on about being a good mother. I read every magazine. I started writing for some magazines in the US on parenting. And I think I was a really good mother. But then when they became teenagers, I was not a good mother of teenagers. I didn't know how to let go of them. I didn't know how to accept the lesson that I had helped prepare them to be adults, that I had done my job well and given them wings so that they no longer needed me the way they used to. It was a hit to my ego, and I didn't handle it very well. So now, knowing what I know now, my hard-fought lessons, I wrote a book about how I changed my life at age 50. I do a lot of public speaking, including the TED Talk you mentioned, which is called Using Life's Challenges as a Force for Good. Because really my passion now is to help other women who are struggling with life transitions. And some of the challenges in my past include, well, alcoholism. I come from a long line of alcoholics, and I was a binge drink alcoholic in that once I started drinking, I rarely could stop. I drank to blackout because I didn't like what was inside of me, that I didn't want to be introspective because I had so many things that I had never dealt with, like having been raped as a teenager, sexually abused as a child. And I just pretended they didn't happen. And that is like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes a tremendous amount of emotional energy. And until I could deal with those traumas, they would pop up in unexpected ways when I was triggered by a situation or a person. And so until I got sober and allowed trusted women to bear witness to my pain and my trauma, I couldn't really move forward and be whole and be a good friend, partner, employee, anything, until I dealt with my inner demons. And so as a gift to myself for my 50th year, I tried 50 new things to determine how I wanted to live the next chapter of my life. And I didn't intend to write a book, but so many people use the mid-century mark or the half-century mark as a time of reckoning, of figuring out that we are actuarially speaking in the third of our lives. So we have lived more life than we have ahead of us in most cases. So what do we want to do with that time? How do we want to use everything we learned in the first half as compost for the second half? And so I tried all of these things. People asked me for the list, and then I realized that I had the germ of a book, and I found an agent. She got a great publisher, and now I do a lot of speaking about what I learned. And I'm not suggesting that everyone do these 50 things, but what I am suggesting whenever I get a chance to speak on the book or to speak to women one-on-one is, if you don't make any changes, that's a choice too. Are you satisfied with your life? Do you want to settle for the safety that sameness offers you, or do you want more? And most people really do want more. And you, I know through your work that you are a champion at helping people find what is that more that you want.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of people, a lot of women especially, I think, just will sit with same old, even though they do want more. That the actual thought of reaching out to get clear on what they really do want just feels like too much of an effort, too much of, even though where they are is not completely happy, they're not completely unhappy either. So they just sit with same old, but that doesn't change unless we do something, does it? This is so important. It's our choices that determine the way we live this part of our life.
Exactly. And I talk with and speak with many women who don't do anything out of fear. Commonly, financial insecurity is a big one. And there are studies that after a certain amount of money, you don't need more money. You don't need things. We don't, as humans, derive lasting pleasure and serenity, happiness from things anymore. It's experiences and relationships. And so one of the new things in my 50 After 50 was I developed my own brand of minimalism, which is for every one new thing I bring into my home, I get rid of 2 things. I donate them, I recycle them, I sell them, because I don't need things anymore. And I don't want to saddle my children with having to deal with all my memories, my things when it's my time to go. And that has made my life simpler. And I concentrate better when I don't have a lot of things around me. Right now, I'm house sitting at someone's house where there are too many things around me, and I'm feeling it. I like simplicity. I derive my most pleasure from experiences, relationships, and travel right now. That's my thing.
It's funny you say that, because, you know, I have a really, really dear friend, and we've been friends for many years. And for birthdays and Christmas, we've always done the gift thing. And quite often we will just say to each other, let's buy an experience, you know, and it's don't buy a thing, let's buy an experience. And the experiences are things that we remember, don't we? We remember them.
Yes, absolutely. And I made so many lifestyle changes in my 50th year that changed my life so much for the better, like surrounding myself with people who are positive and avoiding energy vampires. And we as a society, at least in developed nations, we oftentimes get into the trap of being more careful about how we spend our money than how we spend our time. Yet time is the one thing we can't buy. It's of uncertain duration. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so it is the most precious thing. Well, how are you going to spend your time? I am very intentional about how I spend my time and who I spend my time with now.
Yeah, that's a really good point, you know, because, it's funny, isn't it? And people are so careful with money, but money, we can get money again, but we can't get time again. Once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So the other things in the book, I mean, they range from profound to prosaic. I mean, some of the things that I did, like I wanted to know what it's felt like to sing on stage. And I'm not a good singer. I know that about myself. My kids would cover their ears when I sang in the car, but I wanted to push one of my limits. And so I got up on stage, I belted out a song at a restaurant where I knew no one. It was a karaoke night or something. And people politely applauded, and I left the stage knowing I would never do that again. But what it taught me was that I can feel fear, experience fear, and do it anyway. And that for me is the definition of courage. And now I'm no longer afraid to get up on stage and do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And and the more often we do something, the easier we find it to do that thing, even if it's not the same thing again. You're just doing new things. I agree. I used to describe myself as shy, and there's nothing I enjoy more now than speaking on stage. I love it, absolutely love it. But maybe 15 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe you try to get me to do it then. No way.
See, and you uncovered a gift. I mean, you are a gifted speaker. And so if we don't try, if we don't test our boundaries, we'll never know. We'll never know.
We never know. And people see the end result and they think, oh, you can do that because I can't do it because, but it's not the case. It's so important that we realize that what we see as the external package is not the total sum of what's going on and what that person has experienced through their whole life. So the comparison game can really get in the way if you compare yourself and say, oh, well, it's easy for that person to do it because they're blah, 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 whatever they are, or whatever they're perceiving them to be. But that's not always the true story. Yeah,
that's true. And every time I look at social media, I have to remind myself that these are the highlight reels of everyone's life.
Yes.
I mean, very few people will put the tough things, and no one emerges from this life unscathed. We all have challenges, all of us. And we
exactly.
need to remind ourselves to dwell on the positive and talk back to the negative voices in our head. I do that on a daily basis. I journal things about how I'm feeling. I have an ongoing dialogue with my higher power, which is also for me, the universe, Mother Earth, God. I think it's all the same, something bigger than myself. And I think that humans are unable to really understand what that force is, but there is indeed something bigger than us. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. And I have to learn continually how to let go of worries or things that I can't control, because worrying is essentially praying for something bad to happen. In some ways. It's wasted energy. So there's something called the serenity prayer that you may have heard that is very popular in 12-step programs. And it is, think about what you can control, let go of what you can't control, and pray for the wisdom to know the difference. And that has changed my life.
I love that prayer. I love it. I know that a really good friend of mine who has been sober for about 30 years, I remember when I was going through a really big challenge a few years ago, and that was the prayer that he recited to me. He said, "This is what has helped me. Use it." Yeah.
Oh, that's a gift. It really is, because we are socialized to behave in certain ways. And some of our task, I believe, is unlearning the messages that we were given in our youth. And also to try to rediscover that childlike wonder and the passions, the things that made us happy when we were children often can make us happy as adults as well.
Yeah.
If we allow ourselves to not care so much about what other people think, and rather to focus on what brings us joy, regardless of what other people think. That's a gift of aging, I believe.
Yeah, I believe too. Yeah, I believe that too. It's so easy to stop ourselves because of what other people may judge us, or other people's opinions of us, or other people might think we're silly, or whatever reason it is. Are we really going to let the opinion of other people control our choices, control our lives? It's
right.
Life is too short for that.
It is. And I hope that the pandemic underscored that sentiment for people, because I wager that everyone lost someone during the pandemic. And life is tenuous. And to allow yourself to carry those rocks of judgment or other people's judgment is really not a great way to live. Yeah.
I agree. I love that you focus a lot on connecting with the divine and praying. And I particularly find that very, very helpful in situations where I have no control over something that I care very deeply about. Yeah, it's very, very comforting. And it took me a long time before I brought myself to pray. It took me a long, long time before I reached that point. And even though I'd been encouraged to do it, and when I started doing it, I don't think there is a day go by where I don't pray anymore. And it's not just to ask for things, it's to show appreciation for life as well. But I agree with what you said. It's the human comprehension of that thing that's bigger than us. We just can't comprehend it. And every time we try to understand it, it will slip away, because it's not a thinking thing.
Right.
It's not a logical thing. Yeah.
I agree with you. And I think in this phase of my life, now that I'm turning 59 soon, that I am getting more comfortable with not knowing. Not knowing, with letting things go and not knowing what the answer is, and trusting that everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yes.
And that's new for me. That's a newer thing for me. And I don't want people to get the impression that I've got it all figured out. I am very much a work in progress, and I plan to keep working on becoming a better version of myself for the rest of my life.
Good.
Because I want to grow. I want to continue to grow, and I want to learn as much as I can about how to give back, how to help make the world a better place because I was here.
Yeah.
It's a goal of mine. And when I did the 50 after 50, one other example I'll give of something that was a huge learning experience was I got my motorcycle license, and I got a motorcycle.
Wow, did you?
And my adult children were horrified. They're like, "What, Mom, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, when you turn 50, I support you getting a motorcycle too. Not before then, because it is a dangerous activity. But I love it. I mostly go out on country roads. I don't drive on highways or anything like that. And I have a sidecar for my dog, and we bring joy to children we pass. They wave at us. They love seeing my dog. I got him some goggles to wear. It's adorable. But I was practicing on a quiet street near my house, and I saw a woman from my son's prep school, and her jaw dropped. She looked at me like I had grown 4 eyes or something. And I pulled over, and I thought, oh, here we go. And she said, "Maria, is that you?" And I said, "Yes, I got this motorcycle. I love feeling the wind on my face. It just feels so freeing. But my kids are horrified." And she said, "Well, so am I." And I could feel a mantle of shame on my shoulders. And I talked back to it. I said, "Shame, you are not welcome here," in my head. And I said, "Well, gotta go." And I full throttled away from her. And that just felt so good that I was no longer allowing someone else's judgment to hamper my activities or how I felt about myself. And it took me 50 years to get there.
Isn't that amazing? Which is more often than not the case, right? It takes us until we hit 50 to start unraveling all this and looking at the way we've been speaking to ourselves, the way we've been treating ourselves, and how it's led us to exactly where we are right now. So if we want something different, we need to change that. I love that. Yes. So you speak to shame. I love it.
I do. If it rears its ugly head. And I often say to my sobriety sponsees, "Wow, you're really, really hard on yourself. Would you talk to someone you love the way you talk to yourself? Like, could you please consider changing that negative tape and maybe talk to yourself like you would talk to a child, or your child, or your best friend, or your grandmother?"
Yeah.
Because we are generally, as women especially, very hard on ourselves. Put the bats down, everyone. Put the bat down. Practice self-care and self-love. You are enough.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Treat ourselves the way we would treat our child or our best friend. Yeah. I love that. I love it. God, we've talked about so much, haven't we? We could talk forever. Where would our viewers be able to contact you, Maria? Would you like to share how they could contact you?
Thank you. My name is my website, marialeonardolsen.com. And you can follow me on social media at 50 after 50, FIFTY after and the number 50. Or LinkedIn, my name as well. And my TEDx talk is also under my name or on my website. You can get there. You can get the book at any bookstore. They can order it if they don't already have it. It got great reviews at Library Journal. So many public libraries hold it or carry it as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic. And you can find the links to connect with Maria in the description notes underneath this video. So just click on the description notes and just scroll down, and there'll be a live link there that you can connect with Maria from. And I encourage you to do that. absolutely encourage you to watch Maria's TED Talk. It is brilliant. I loved it. I loved it when I watched it. Yeah, brilliant.
And hit the like button, because
Yes.
that moves it up in the
Yes.
visibility algorithm. And I think it can help a lot of people.
Makes a big difference. The like button, the thumbs up thing.
Thank you. And thank you, Deb, for putting all the light you put into the world. I mean, you really are a champion for women in transition, particularly in midlife and beyond. And we need to support each other. We do. It's a time of vulnerability. And if you don't emerge stronger, you've really lost an opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. So before we finish, Maria, I'd love you to share if there's one, which I'm absolutely sure there'll be a woman watching right now who really wants to reinvent her life, a particular aspect of her life. What would you suggest that she does first?
I would suggest starting a list of things that bring you joy. And when I first got divorced, I couldn't think of anything but my children and chocolate ice cream at the time. I had lost myself. So my therapist told me, well, write down the things you like to eat. And slowly I kept a list on my phone, a dynamic list of things that I liked, and I would add to it, subtract to it. And I am a student of the world. I listen to lots of TED Talks. I listen to YouTube a lot, your channel, and fill your mind with positivity and potential things that you would like to try. And then start to prioritize them. What are some things you want to do before you die? And what is doable now in the short term? What is doable in the long term? And start to take steps, take at least one step every day toward something that brings you joy. And slowly your life will unfold for the better. And you'll start discovering really who you are at base. What are your values? What are your happiness points? You have so many choices because you're still alive and breathing and hopefully walking. So even taking walks has expanded my life. In meeting people, in seeing things that I rushed by hundreds of times. Slow down, do some introspection, and start collecting and prioritizing what you want to do with whatever time you have left.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's wonderful advice. And I love what you said. You know, there's plenty of time to make plenty of choices. I always say that the moment it is too late is the moment we take our last breath. That is the moment it's too late, because we've got plenty of time to do as many things as we want to do. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. If you found this conversation helpful, please give us the thumbs up that we talked about before. Share it with your friends, because this is such an inspirational conversation that your friends are going to gain benefit from too. If you'd like to see more conversations like these or receive more tips and content around mindset, wellness, and style, subscribe to my channel, just that red subscribe button underneath, and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss out. Maria, thank you so much. It's been fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us, and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye-bye.